Let's talk about disability. It's a topic that's, just surrounded by so many misconceptions. So today, we're going to dismantle some of the most common myths out there and really dig into what true inclusion looks like. Let's get right into it.
So I want to start with a big question for you. What if the biggest hurdles people with disabilities face aren't their conditions at all, but our own attitudes, and maybe the very society we've built? Just keep that question in the back of your mind as we go through this.
Because, these aren't just harmless opinions. These misconceptions can actually create fear. And that fear, well, it often leads directly to prejudice, to mistreatment, and discrimination. It builds very real walls in people's lives.
Okay, so let's just jump right in and tackle these myths head-on. In this first part, we're going to look at some of the most common misconceptions about disability, ones that a lot of us have probably heard, or maybe even believed were true at some point.
All right, here's a huge one. The idea that a person's entire identity, everything they are, is defined by their disability. We hear this all the time in the way people talk, using labels like the disabled or the epileptic.
But the reality, of course, is that a disability is just one aspect of a whole complex person. They're people first. There's a really simple but powerful slogan that just says it all. Label jars, not people.
And that first myth kind of leads into this next one, this pervasive idea that having a disability automatically means your life is going to be limited, that you can't be productive or independent.
But that's just not true. The real challenge, the real work, is to shift our focus, to stop looking at what we think people can't do, and instead focus on their actual abilities, their unique potential. It's all about seeing what's possible.
Okay, this next one is really, really important. It's this common viewpoint that disability is some kind of personal tragedy, something that deserves our pity, as if people with disabilities are just these tragic figures.
But what if the tragedy isn't the disability itself? What if the real tragedy is the world around them? The negative attitudes, the stereotypes, and the simple lack of accessibility in our own communities? Those are the things that truly hold people back.
All right, so we've busted a few major myths. Now let's try to build a better, more accurate understanding. And the great place to start is with this key concept. What do we actually mean when we say special educational needs?
So the official definition is pretty interesting. It's not just about a specific diagnosis. It's about any restriction that stops a person from being able to fully participate in and benefit from their education because of a disability. That word participate is absolutely key here. And here's something that might surprise you. This idea of special needs is actually way broader than most of us think. It doesn't just cover disabilities. It also includes kids who are facing massive life challenges, like being forced to work, living in extreme poverty, or even being victims of war. All of these things are huge barriers to learning.
So, when you think about all these different needs and all these barriers, what's the answer? Well, one of the most powerful solutions we have is something called inclusive education. But what does that really look like? I mean, just look at the difference here. It is night and day. On one side, you've got exclusion, where a student is literally denied access to learning, to friendships. But on the other side, you have inclusion, where all kids, no matter their ability, are learning and growing together in the very same classroom. The difference is just profound.
And the benefits? Oh, they're huge. And not just for students with disabilities, but for absolutely everyone. Inclusion sparks collaboration, it breaks down stigma, and it actually helps all kids learn better. And in the long run, it helps build a society that's more inclusive for all of us.
Okay, so inclusion sounds amazing, right? It's the goal. But let's be real for a second. Getting there isn't simple. There are some pretty significant real-world barriers that we have to face.
You can really break them down into 4 main roadblocks. First up, those attitudinal barriers we've been talking about, the stereotypes and fear. Then you've got teachers who, through no fault of their own, just haven't had the right training. Third, and this is a big one, inadequate funding for the resources and staff that are needed. And finally, you have the literal physical barriers, schools you can't get into and transportation that doesn't work for everyone.
So, knowing what the barriers are is step 1. Step 2, figuring out how to build something better. So how do we actually create schools that are truly inclusive for every single student?
Well, here's the roadmap. It has to start right at the top, with school leaders who really champion this philosophy. It means using smart teaching strategies, like changing up instruction for different learners and using assistive technology. And maybe most importantly, it requires real collaboration so that general and special educators are working together as a team.
Here's the most important takeaway. Building a truly inclusive world isn't somebody else's job. It belongs to every single one of us. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. In your own life, at your job, in your community, what is one barrier, maybe big, maybe small, that you can help break down?